That terrible 2014. She had 10 seconds, are we on?
30-second intro.
Yeah, we're going to see the intro and then we'll kind of come up. Okay. Alright. So we've got 10 minutes of pre-show. We'll see the maps.
1, 2, 3. What time's the race start? Bang on 8?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock to
Mate, we've got 12.
Okay. That is live streaming now, so.
Welcome to Devonport and the 34th Annual Devonport Triathlon. Started in 1985 and in 2019 playing host to the ITU Paratriathlon World Cup, the first of 7 events and the only one in Australia, as well as the Elite and Under-23 Sprint Triathlon Oceania Cup and Championships and Mixed Team Relay Oceania Championships. All brought to you by Triathlon Australia, Events Tasmania and the Devonport City Council.
Welcome to Devonport and the second day of what has already been a fantastic weekend's racing. We've had Paratriathlon World Cup, we had some great elite racing, youth and junior yesterday, and now today, Sunday morning, it's all about the mixed team relay. The second time it's come to Devonport, the first time in elite racing as well. My name is Will McCloy, alongside me a couple of legends of triathlon in Australia, Craig Redmond, and two-time world champion Emma Carney is here as well. Thanks for joining us, Emma, first of all on the desk.
Thanks for having me. It's an honour to be here and work with such, I feel privileged.
You couldn't think of a word to call it, such other people involved in triathlon. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. And Redders, what a day it was yesterday. We certainly enjoyed all the racing, and we had a few technical difficulties, which I think we've ironed out for today. We hope so, but the racing was outstanding. Yeah,
sensational, really was. Certainly breakthrough race there for Jo Miller to win her first Oceania Championship, 20 years of age. Under 23 world champion Taylor Reid winning the men's race, and man, the para triathlon, what exciting racing that was.
Yeah, it is, and just so many categories out here and people from all over the world, and that just shows Emma where Devonport sits in terms of the importance of the race, where it sits in the calendar to set up the year for para triathletes, but also just the level in which this race, the esteem in which it's held.
Yeah, I was really impressed yesterday. There's so much depth as well, and having, I think also the junior race, having the juniors exposed to this, it was a really tough course out there. I was out on the hill on the bike. My heart hurt watching that. So it was great lot of racing, and these relays, back in the day, I wish they had them when we were racing. These look like a lot of fun. It's short, sharp, it's it's a Tokyo event, 2020.
Yep.
And yeah, it's to back up. You know, we never used to have to do that. So now they've got to race hard yesterday, got to recover, got to come back, got to perform again. And it'll be interesting to see. You know, we've got so many teams here today. What is it? Something like 17?
Yeah. There's no team number 13, if you notice.
Oh.
Unlucky team number 13 not out there, but there is 28 teams taking place because the cap has gone up to a 30 possible teams. So that just shows you where mixed team relay is beginning to sit in the pantheon of events, I suppose, if you like. For you, I mean, coming from a time when there was no mixed team relay, is this kind of short, sharp racing the future of triathlon in some ways?
In some ways, yeah, for sure. And it's also really important for the younger athletes to be doing this type of racing, because it really makes you've got to have your quality, you've got to have your skills, you've got to have a fast switch, you've got to be quick on the bike, you've got to be able to turn, you've got to be able to react, you know, and then you've got the sort of, I suppose, the tactics involved. You know, you put out a good, strong female. The second male athlete has to hold that position or try and move up. The second or the third athlete, the second female, has to be able to bridge gaps, and then you've got your strong finisher. So it's very tactical out there.
Yeah, just to get people up to speed, if it's the first time you're watching a mixed team relay, it's incredibly short, sharp, fast racing. The whole thing will only last maybe about an hour 15, an hour 20. 4 athletes, 2 men, 2 women. The lead male is in position number A, letter A. Then female, male. Hang on, what is it? Female, male, female, male. That's right. Ladies always first, of course. And brought home by the second male as there's Sophie Chase in one of our sole US teams. There's just one US team out there, and the rest made up by Australia and New Zealand teams. The swim, 300 metres only. The bike is 2 laps of the course, adding up to 5.8 kilometres, and then they run 1.5 kilometres, so very different. As they head out onto the sand to get ready for the swim, let's have a look at the map and the swim map. Highlighted in pink, just around the 2 turn buoys. So after a 750 metre swim yesterday, which headed out almost to the Mercy Bluff headland and back again, it's very short and sheltered swim, so I'll be very quick over 300 metres and then up to transition. We'll have a look at the bike map in just a second. We'll get that one away as well. But as I say, it's going to be short, fast racing. It's a completely flat course, and there's a big field out there, Redders. Yeah, look, it's outstanding field, and look, team tactics in play. Who's going to start in which position? It's a lot of ducks and drakes. The teams aren't finalised until an hour before the event, so it's going to be a great race between Australia and New Zealand for the Oceania title, but there's also the USA team in there as well. Yeah,
it's interesting. Some of the girls wearing wetsuits, some aren't. Obviously the ones that aren't don't have that extra slowing down, getting them off in transition. But then obviously they're not going to have the advantage. 300 metres, you have too much of an advantage, and that's sort of everyone sort of tossing that up. I think with the fact that the top 2 teams aren't wearing wetsuits, it's probably a good thing to be doing. Yeah,
it's a toss-up. You would have chosen to not wear a wetsuit, but the Galway teams, all 28 females in the water leading out, and it's only 300 metres, and you can see pretty decent conditions once you get out past those few little rollers coming in. It's pretty flat out there, so we can expect some of the stronger swimmers to really put the hammer down early. And out in the water right now for Team 1 Australians, Tamsin Moana-Vale. She came in 2nd position with a strong run yesterday to make it an Australian 1-2. Sophie Chase is there, the sole American. You saw her on screen, 2nd from left. Nicole van der Kay, who had a good race yesterday, is in Team New Zealand number 1. Kira Hedgeland out there. Ari Graham, who led much of the bike and really put in some hard yards before she was followed up in the run yesterday. Zoe Leahy of Australia, and Team 3 of New Zealand, Sophie Corbridge, is out there as well, amongst a whole list of quality athletes, Redders.
Yeah, certainly. And Triathlon Australia have made a decision to include a lot of juniors in this race to expose them to racing at a higher level. We've got a strong number of individuals, but an amazing opportunity for the under 23 and junior athletes to race at this level.
I mean, how would you have gone in mixed team relay? I mean, now you can look back on it and go, well, I would have dominated, but would your racing style have lent to that?
I don't know, but I do know that the older you get, the better you were. So
I'm sure of all triathletes I've met, that seems to be a consistent thing amongst them all.
It's interesting that the Americans have come down here, and the Americans on the WTS, in the females particularly, are doing really well.
Yeah.
And this sort of with Australia, got so many athletes in here. I know I've got an athlete racing, and she didn't have a great race yesterday, so she's got to put that behind her, get on with it and race. And it's the racing that really creates the athlete. A bit of a sky shot there.
Bit of a sky shot. We are enjoying a lot of sky shots and getting a lot of weather information across the course of the weekend. That is where
So
they'll come up out of the swim. No, it's clockwise.
Anti-clockwise.
Oh no, you're right. As opposed to yesterday. I'm still looking on television, looks back to front. We'll have a look quickly at the bike map while they're just coming back out of the water. They come up the beach, they turn right through that chicane and out onto Coles Beach Road. Now, yesterday they came all the way off and went over the railway line, but today it's much shorter, 2 laps of the course, adding up to 5.8 kilometres. So it's very fast, it's very flat, just that dead turn at the end and the one chicane, but there's not a lot of wind this time, so that's split the field up, but this time also.
Yeah, look, it's going to be very tight and technical. This first swim's very important. Try and establish a lead for your team to be in that front group. But what you'll find during this race, the lead's going to change many, many times, and we're really not going to know who the winner is until the final few hundred metres of the run.
Well, you and me, we might not even know who it is after the final few hundred metres of the run. We'll see how we go. We'll see if we get good coverage of the finishing line. But here they come in and just hoping to catch a little runner in at the back end, and we'll try and find out who that is as they come out. It's hard with the wetsuits on, obviously. But the first of 12 legs of the mixed team relay, all done, and so out of the water there is Ari Graham leading again.
So she was the leader. Kira Hedgeland's right there as well for Australia. Sophie Chase, the American's right there as well.
Yes. Zoe Leahy, Sophie Corbridge.
Brittany Dutton going through from Queensland as well, representing Australia.
Isabella Coombs as well.
These girls have just got to hammer this run, get into transition and get out on that bike. There's no hill that's going to break it up this time, so it's all about the cornering, it's all about the gear choice in and out of the corners, it's about reacting to everyone.
Keep an eye for the New Zealand girl that just came through there.
We've had a little slip there with the wetsuit coming off, so that time can be very costly in this format of racing.
Yeah, I just saw her come through on picture. Hannah Knight, and she won the Junior Oceania Championships yesterday, and she's now racing in the first league here for New Zealand in this relay, so it'll be interesting to see how she goes.
All right, our leaders out on the bike for the first of 2 laps along this fast, flat course. Have taken a right-hand turn out of transition. Still a fair few clouds, a lot cooler than it was this time yesterday, which will be helpful through the chicane for the first time.
So there's one athlete. So as 3 came out together, one athlete out the front. She must have not had a wetsuit on.
Well, it just shows you how it spreads a little 3 or 4 seconds to get the wetsuit off, maybe more if you're under stress.
Yeah, and being a relay, you would be absolutely going for it. You don't sit there and wait for groups. You don't do anything. All she has to do is stay out the front.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. You can't ease up in these races. You've got to go flat out. Make the pack try and chase you. So they're looking for every second they can get. And this quite well be the start of setting up New Zealand for the win.
Well, that was a long way to go. Yeah, you've called it early there, Reddit.
I've called it early.
Incredibly early.
Ari Graham had a sensational race yesterday. She rode pretty much solo off the front in the women's race. So expect to see her trying to get a big lead for her team on the first leg.
Yeah, all these first athletes are athletes that have done well yesterday. So they're while the teams, are obviously weaker as you go down the field, they're still the athletes that did well individually. So it's going to be a strong first leg. There's girls at the back that are going to be chasing hard, so everyone out there has to be going flat out.
Yeah, transition incredibly important, making sure everything's completely dialed in as well. As we can see already, a couple of seconds is incredibly hard to make up in this kind of racing because each athlete just has to leave it all out there. They'll come in a little bit of a different run to normal, coming out the other side of the finishing chute and then through past the children's playground into transition. As we're just picking up our bike leader at the top of our course, we're having a little bit of trouble with the transmission from the moto, but as they turn back to home, we should be able to pick it up reasonably quickly. But at the moment, yes, as you say, you think who are we thinking that is out the front? It's hard. It's very hard to see. But at the moment, the cream is rising to the top in Team 1, 2 and 3 of Australia and New Zealand, and down the back of the field there is a whole ton of junior athletes as well who are out there racing. But at the moment, well, let's have while we're just waiting for it to come back up, I want to just think back to, because we're going to see Taylor Reid as our second male out in just a second. How good was his kick yesterday over Matt Roberts, who will also see those two both in the B slot, so the first male, and they'll go head to head once again. Yeah, look, Taylor's outstanding at this format of the racing. Commonwealth Games medalist for New Zealand in the relay, so expect him to bring them home very strong. Yeah, those two, just 3 seconds between them after nearly 56 minutes of racing yesterday, and Trent Thorpe coming in second. He's one of our D athletes, so he anchors, I think, team number 2 for New Zealand. Trent Thorpe, but plenty of talent. Ryan Fisher as well will be out there as one of our D athletes, finished 5th yesterday, and Hayden Wild, who we haven't seen yet, who is the cream of the crop when it comes to New Zealand mixed team relay. We're going to take a break right now. We'll come back, hopefully pick up live pictures.
Stars, snacks, and streaming on demand in every seat. Direct your way to LA with Virgin Australia.
Thanks to Virgin Australia, among others, sponsoring this telecast. We're looking to bring to you all the information from the Mixed Team Relay Oceania Championships, which is underway down here in Devonport. 34th edition of the Devonport Triathlon. Will McCloy alongside Emma Carney and Craig Redman, and we're just looking to pick up live pictures on the first time out for the bike for our A athletes, the lead females. Tamsin Moana Vale amongst them, Sophie Chase, Nicole Vanderkay, Ari Graham was at the front, as she was yesterday. Kira Hedgeland, Zoe Leahy, Soph Corbridge, and a whole bunch of other athletes who are enjoying a day out here in Devonport, which is nice and cool, not too much wind to speak of, and already coming in to complete the first lap of the bike is our lead athlete, who we still at the moment aren't 100% sure who that is.
There is a big chase group behind chasing hard, but I believe that's Ari Graham, the New Zealand athlete, has turned on the first lap of 2, but the chase pack's not too far behind.
Be like 3 seconds behind. Very hard to see on those pictures. I think there'd be a lot of, yesterday after the race, the most important thing was, with this relay coming up, is getting rid of that lactic acid, getting yourself ready for this race. There'd be a few girls out there that would have hopped on the bike and gone, "Ooh, my legs are sore."
Yeah.
So it's triathlon's a lot different these days. You can't finish your race and that's it. You've got to finish your race. You've got to recover. You've got to get yourself stretched. You've got to get yourself ready for the next day. And you know, these races are going to teach these girls how to do that, and guys.
Yeah, certainly some of the junior and under 23 athletes, Emma, have been lucky enough, I guess, to have that included in their Australian Junior and Youth Triathlon Series. So a lot of the younger athletes are used to now racing their individual race on one day and backing up and doing a relay the next day. Probably not so much for the older athletes, but certainly they are now coming through as a new generation of being used to racing 2 races over a weekend.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's the circuit that they have in Australia, where they can the juniors are being the racing's been broken down, and it's been sort of tailored to prepare them for the Olympics, and this sort of racing, which is the future of triathlon.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Certainly is. It's everyone's got an appetite for shorter, sharper racing, things that go a little bit quicker, and yes, things like Super League are feeding into that, and of course the mixed team relay, and eventually we'll end up with a sprint Olympic Tokyo or in the future.
Will?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, you think not?
I don't know. I think we could Olympic distance or the classic distance, the 1.5, 40 and 10. I think that will probably remain, and I think they might add a sprint as well. So the program will actually become bigger. Well,
that'd be better, wouldn't it? More medals for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, triathlon is also, you've got to have the crowds and you've got to have the interest, but the skills of the relay and the shorter, sharper racing definitely does capture the TV audience better, I think.
There's a place for both.
I think
You're
so.
stuck. You're on the cusp. You got the one half traditionalist, one foot in the future camp.
Yeah, but you can't be one of those old triathletes doesn't want your sport to evolve.
Like Redders.
No. Redders is like revolutionary.
Is he?
I love sprint triathlon. The athletes really do enjoy sprint triathlon.
Yeah.
They love it. They love the team aspect of it. They normally race pretty much as individuals, but to come together as a team to represent their country or their state, whatever, they really enjoy that.
Well, we're still waiting to get our live pictures back, so apologies for looking at us instead of the race, but at the moment it's Ari Graham of New Zealand who led out in the bike yesterday, eventually got swallowed up in the run, and a great win it was by Jo Miller, but she's led out again on the bike, so she hasn't learned a lesson at all, but it doesn't need to do that at the moment in mixed team relay. She'll hand off to, if I'm right, Dylan McCulloch, Deborah Lynch and Trent Thorpe, who finished yesterday after leading the run himself, eventually losing out to Taylor Reid, and Matt Roberts is their team. But there is quality athletes all the way through, and we're going to see some great performances, no doubt, from athletes that are very established, at least in the top 7 or 8 teams.
Yeah, and I mean, Ari would have been told, you need to get us a break. And that's all she's going to be doing out there. She's not going to sit there and think, yesterday my run, I got run down. She's going to be out there and she's going to try and hand over. Dylan will have a little bit of a break. Depends on how much she gets run down. We've got some shots back.
Yeah, I think Ari Graham will just about be ready to turn for home on the second lap of the bike.
Be interesting too with the US team here. I think this is one of their development teams under Jared Evans, running their NCAA program. So these athletes are all very new to racing this format. So they've been included into the Oceania Championships. So it'll be interesting to see how the US team goes as well.
Yeah,
all right. In fact, into transition comes our leaders. So it looks like it's a group now. So Ari Graham's been swallowed up by a group which includes a couple of Australians there at the front. And we'll see if we can keep you updated as they come through transition right now. At the moment, Team 1, Australia. It is Tamsin Moana Vale who leads in from Nicole van der Kay, Sophie Chase, Ari Graham, Kira Hedgeland, Sophie Corbridge and Brittany Dutton are all in that lead group with 3 seconds gap.
Yeah.
So 8 athletes. Team 1 Australia and Team 6 Australia ahead of Team 1 New Zealand. Team 1, the only United States team sitting in there as well. Sophie Chase handing off to Clayton Hutchins.
So now they head out
In a
on
minute,
the
but
1.5K run?
yes, 1.5 kilometre run.
1 lap.
And it
So
looks
that
like
will take them about 4.5 minutes.
It's be wild and furious. It's flat, it's fast.
It is.
Still got to pace yourself a little bit. Some people can overextend in that first 600 to 800 metres. Just got to be able to control your effort and really finish strong.
Looks like a New Zealand. My eyesight is slightly failing.
Yeah, difficult to see, but we've got a group of, I think, 7 athletes at the moment, and someone, it's difficult to see because it's going to be a very wide shot, but
A little bit of a break coming off the front there.
yeah, we just have to confirm for you who is in fact off the front of the race and try and get a closer shot in there, but at the moment a little break coming from one of the New Zealand teams. A couple of Australian teams in there behind.
That's Ari Graham, isn't it?
It does look like Ari Graham, so it gets swallowed up by the pack on the bike and breaks away again on the run. So a second effort, if that is indeed Graham, to try and re-establish that break which he had midway through the bike. We've lost our signal once again, so apologies for that. We are continually working on trying to pick up the signal here down in Devonport. It is a little difficult technically, and we do actually have a signal back if it is a little fuzzy.
But I think it's safe to say, signal or no signal, that those girls right now would be going absolutely flat out.
Yes.
They would have hit the turn by now, and all coaches would be saying you need to return to transition. Where's the changeover point? Is it down the...
We can see the men's team, the men's first men's team lining up now.
So the men are lining up, and then they've got that crossover rule where you're put in the order that your female runner is coming in at, and then where the official puts you, you can't change. So if it's really close, it can get really messy, like a 400-metre changeover on the track, 4x4.
Oh, it's still heading out on the run. Is Graham, I think.
Yeah, it'll either be Ari Graham or Nicole van der Kay in the New Zealand #1 team.
Can we remember who wore red shoes? Oh, it's very
If
hard.
you can, you're a better person than I am.
It's very, very hard to commentate with the breaking of the picture.
Yeah, we're doing our best to bring to you the information as it comes to hand.
Chase. It's
No,
very
Sophie
outside.
Chase. So it looks
Chase.
to us. Sorry, my apologies. Like black, but it is in
Sophie
fact
Chase.
blue, and it is Sophie Chase, who is a college cross-country runner from Stanford. Trains under Jared Evans at Team Psycho, as well as Mary Alex England, who is also part of that team. She'll hand off to Clayton Hutchins, but Chase looked great on the run yesterday, and she certainly backed it up today.
Yeah, that's certainly an impressive run from the Americans. So they're going to set themselves up. This is going to be really interesting because it's going to actually have their changeover. That athlete's going to be going solo off the front and
Yep.
being chased down by a pack of 4 or 5. So that'll be really interesting when we get to the men's league.
That is an outstanding run, though, with the California runners behind Sophie Chase to gap them to that extent over the course of, and she's still heading out on the course.
No, back.
No, she's heading back. No, you're right. She's heading back. My apologies. So over the course of maybe 1 kilometre to put in
That's a
100
massive
metres,
gap.
a huge
Massive.
gap.
certainly showing a track pedigree running now, and that's probably only about 400 metres, 500 metres from the changeover.
She's even dropped the bike. Blistering pace. It will be interesting, Clayton Hutchins. You don't normally have a surf swim in triathlon, and I do know that the Europeans and the Americans aren't always, they know that if they come to Australia and there's a surf swim, they're at a disadvantage. So it's a question of whether Clayton can get through the waves, and obviously they know yesterday.
Just also a number of these athletes I'm pretty sure didn't start yesterday, so they're actually fresh. I know Sophie Chase raced.
Sophie Chase is not one of them, though.
No,
Really?
certainly not Sophie, but
I didn't think you could have fresh legs.
Yeah, no, certainly can. Hayden Wild's
one who
from
didn't
New
race
Zealand.
yesterday.
Oh, dirty tactics.
Well, he was knocked out in a race last weekend, so...
So here we are, this is the changeover.
Yep, so the changeover from Sophie Chase to Clayton Hutchins, and at the moment they're running at a 19:33, and that'll be 13 seconds ahead of Liam Ward, who's been tapped on by Sophie Corbridge. Behind them, Matt Roberts comes in for Team 1 Australia from Tamsin Moana Vale. Taylor Reid takes over from Nicole Vanderkay, and Kai Wild takes over from Zoe Lee. Luke Burns takes over from Brittany Dutton for Team 4 Australia at 20:05. So a 30-second gap between Clayton Hutchins in first position and Luke Burns and Dylan McCulloch, who take over for Team 4 Australia and Team 2 New Zealand in 6th and 7th. But at the moment it's Hutchins from Liam Ward, Matt Roberts, Taylor Reid, Kai Wild, Luke Burns, Dylan McCulloch, and then Brandon Copeland, defending champion from 2018, no longer defending champion in the elite men's race.
Yeah, just having a little quick view, looking out to sea there, Will, I can see that the chasing three are moving right up onto the back of Clayton Hutchins. So just about to move onto his feet now as they head to the first turning can.
I think there'll be a group of 4 when they exit, don't you? Possibly a group of 5. There's someone making them jump across.
Hutchins, Ward, Matt Roberts, Taylor Reid, Kai Wild, Luke Burns, Dylan McCulloch, then Brandon Copeland, Zach Taylor for Team 6 New Zealand, Stephen McKenna for Team 5 Australia, Isaiah Nay from Team 4 New Zealand, Liam McCoach, Aaron Horton, Josh Ferris, Elliot Roberts for Team 15 Australia, Sam Milam for Team 8 Australia, Luke Bate, Janice Stauffenberg for Team 9 New Zealand, crosses as well in a 21:26, so just about 2 minutes back, covers our top 20 or so. That's 18th position for Janice Stauffenberg, 19th position for Oscar Dart. Adam Martin in Team 7 New Zealand is in 20th position, a 21:49 from Rebecca Henderson.
Interesting, all these guys are wearing wetsuits. The girls must have got out and said, oh, that was a bad idea.
Well, sometimes once one of them does it, everyone sort of goes, we better do it as well.
Can we all wear wetsuits so that we don't freeze?
Do you think there's that kind of
Camaraderie?
amongst athletes?
Well, it didn't happen in my day.
I feel like if everyone agreed, then
Someone would say,
potentially
"I'll
just at
wear
the last
a wetsuit."
second you'd be like,
Yeah.
I'll just take it off real quick before everyone else has a chance not to do it.
Yeah, well, your wetsuit would go missing.
So our leading 4 athletes are just coming into the wave area, so they're about 50 metres offshore. See if anyone can pick up a little runner here.
It does look like Clayton Hutchins has been, that 13-second gap earned by Sophie Chase has evaporated in the blink of an eye, and that is the beauty of mixed team relay racing, how quickly things can change. As we just look behind us, fantastic view here from Devonport Surf Club, and 4 athletes, and
All been standing up.
2 of them managed to
Nice
get
catch.
on a little runner there coming into shore, and it's high tide here, so there's a long, shallow walk up or wade up onto the ramp and back in to transition. So 4 of our male athletes.
Looks like
I think, does that look like
Taylor Reid.
Taylor Reid at the front, ahead of one of our Australians,
Maybe Matt Roberts.
and then Matt Roberts. So these 2, and then Hutchins, and then
This will be really
I
interesting.
think
I'm not
Liam
sure.
Ward, who's in Team 3 New Zealand, was there as well.
Certainly Taylor and Matt are very strong cyclists, so this will really test the American on his cycling ability. See if he can hang with these guys during this very fast and furious bike league.
Yeah, Clayton Hutchins is a big runner. Won the Big West Conference College Champs back in 2017 in 24:36 8K.
Well, that's the whole US talent program. Can you run?
Triathlon
Can you
Gold
swim?
and yeah.
And that's what they're doing. So the bike is always a little bit questionable with the Americans at the moment in their development area.
Yeah, he is part of the USA Tri-Collegiate Recruitment Program we talked about yesterday as well. Triathlon Gold, they're all training down in Geelong, 2 months training camp there, so they're well accustomed to these conditions. They've been down there for a month or so already. But this is his sort of elite debut. Some nice pictures there from our moto at the front of our pack.
I think it's interesting. It's so short. You don't even bother to do your shoes up on the bike. Just get on the bike
yep.
and hammer.
Haven't got time for that sort of. I'm just trying to pick up who that rider is.
And as we look to get some pictures back, we'll just take a very quick break and we'll come back in our second athletes leg of the Mixed Team Relay Oceania Championship.
We don't have any results coming through.
There's some more of our other athletes coming out of the swim and onto the run course. Remember, we've got a number of junior under 23 athletes cutting their teeth today at elite racing, so it's fantastic for their development as well as they move forward. A number of those athletes all raced in the youth or Australian junior championships earlier on yesterday, before the para event, and then the juniors after it.
So just still some athletes coming out of the water about 6 minutes back, and that just shows you the fast and furious pace that our front athletes are setting here in the mixed team relay, and giving these athletes at the back an idea of the level at which they need to reach if they're going to mix it with the very best.
Yeah, I thought it was a very harsh junior program because they raced last and then they got to back up early this morning.
Yeah, but they're only young.
Poor little juniors.
They back up straight away.
They do rebound.
Do you recall that?
Yeah, actually I do. Back in the day, you could go for a run, the next day you could run again.
Yeah, well, so it's a little bit similar for me at that age, except I was like, I'd go to the pub and then the next morning I felt fine. That was my version of being able to back up
Not that we
day on day.
behaviour.
Not at all, no. That was 20 years ago.
There's some guy riding in his wetsuit.
Oh, we had that famous. Do you remember the famous?
Yes, well, there's a little bit of history. We're hearing reports on the course that there's an athlete out riding the bike league in their wetsuit, Will, which is ironic for the Devonport Triathlon, because part of Devonport folklore is the year that Mark Dragon actually did the bike league one year at the Devonport Triathlon in his wetsuit.
That wasn't a mixed team relay, that was the entire thing.
You haven't heard the whole story. He got to about 38k on the bike and then he just fall off.
It does.
So you do overheat when you're in your wetsuit.
But there was
He's going to have to run in his wetsuit too.
Can't leave stuff on the course, no.
Wow.
Or carry it on your bike.
Was that an error?
No, it was
actually that cold.
It was a very cold day. There was a little bit of snow on the mountains that day, which is unusual for Tasmania, I know.
But as it turned out, it was an error because he fell off his bike.
Yeah, well, there was an error made. Well, yes, in retrospect, it was an error because his body temperature was 115 degrees Celsius.
So it might have been a tactical move, or they may have, under pressure, do strange things in transition and maybe just forgot to take his wetsuit off.
Yep. Well, we've seen that in sort of mixed team relay racing or super sprint racing before. Athletes, I've seen athletes running in their helmet.
Bare feet last week.
Running in bare feet last week. Happens to the very best of us.
Well, certainly
that was a decision. He made that decision. Leo Bergier decided to make that decision.
Yeah.
Because his feet were slipping out of his shoes.
Yeah, and then he had another race. He said, "Oh, my feet hurt."
Yes, they're no good, but still he came 4th overall and handed his countryman Vincent Lewis $100,000 in Super League Triathlon. But here we are in Devonport, and with the mixed team relay, we've got pictures again coming out of transition on the moto, and we'll see if we can catch up to our leaders to give you a update on where we are.
So, yeah, through that chicane onto the second lap, it looks like there's a lead group of 3. So my suspicion would be that potentially the US athletes been dropped from that group, because certainly Matt Roberts and Taylor Reid are very, very strong cyclists. They were obviously way up the road in the individual race yesterday, and they won't be hanging around today.
And so the third athlete we're thinking is Dylan McCulloch. Ari Graham's.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Liam Ward was there or thereabouts as well at that point. So again, we apologise for our technical difficulties in bringing you the pictures that we were hoping to bring you for this mixed team relay, but just bear with us. We're doing as well as we can to bring you the information that you all want to see, and to pick up our leaders when we can. And please know that as soon as we can bring you back live pictures, we are doing so.
This is our first live stream, isn't it?
Yes.
From the Great Triathlon Australia Hub.
Yes, the hub.
Yeah. So
This
it
is
can
the
only
hub.
get better.
Yes, this is the hub, and
So
we hope to
thanks
continue
for
to do that.
everyone for listening.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, you're about to see us again, which is, we're sorry about that. Here we are.
What a highlight. Something important.
But very interesting times here at the front of the mixed team relay, and the pace is certainly on in a big way, and we're just getting some updates as to what is exactly going on out there. Redders, what are you reading?
Well, they're telling me there's 2 Kiwis and an Aussie in the next group.
In the front.
So apparently Matt Roberts has made an attack off the front.
Ooh.
So very strong cyclist. He had a great race yesterday. Just losing that sprint finish to Taylor Reid, so he's obviously wanting to go one better today.
And Matt Roberts, he's in the top Australian team, and Australia has a lot of pride when it comes to triathlon relays. I think we have very much believe that every time there's a relay we're going to be up there, and so Matt Roberts will be all about let's try and see what we can do, break it apart, have a bit of a break, pass over to Kerry Morris, who was 5th yesterday, and she's a little bit more of a long course athlete, so possibly strong on the bike.
This will certainly be for her. She's used to doing those 4-hour races.
Yeah.
5 hours to come back to a
Could be a bit of a
15-20 minute
shock.
race. It's going to be very interesting to see how she
A
goes.
shock, but so much better. That's just surely so much better. So Matt Roberts off the front. As we said, he came second yesterday, and then we've got a group of 2 Kiwis and an Aussie in the chase pack, and we're thinking that's potentially Taylor Reid. Liam Ward was there or thereabouts as well. And who's our Australian? Dylan McCulloch.
Dylan McCulloch from New Zealand. He actually won
New Zealand?
He won
Yeah.
the Junior Oceania Championships yesterday, Will. So he had a sensational race.
Yep.
And he's an extremely strong cyclist, so he can certainly match it with these guys.
All right, we are still looking to bring you live pictures and an update from our timing, which we're getting slowly in, and we'll be able to bring to you when they come into transition as an update of where we're up to.
So the leaders are on their way back. They're almost coming in to head out into the run.
Only that you say that it's more fun to do the short event.
Well, it's over quicker.
Yes.
So I've had some
Yes, but no. For me, 100%
So you have
shorter
less
better.
time to hate yourself.
Yeah, well, you hate yourself more, but for less time.
Okay.
Rather than just a slow burn of hatred over 5 hours.
So I've had some confirmation that it's Taylor Reid that's riding in his wetsuit. Tyler Reid, sorry. Tyler Reid is
Really?
riding in his wetsuit.
Taylor Reid,
Taylor.
Taylor Reid.
stop second guessing yourself.
Sorry.
Really?
That's what I've heard out on the course.
How do
That's
you know
Matt
that?
Roberts out there at the front, and
So
he's
Matty
about to
Roberts.
come into transition.
Nice transition.
Yeah, beautiful dismount, nice and smooth. And he's opened up a handy little lead. So whether Taylor's had some issues with his zipper and he's decided I'm just going to go, or it was a conscious decision to ride in his wetsuit. But I do find that hard to believe that you would want to ride in your wetsuit.
I know, there'd be so much restriction and...
And there he is.
Matt
Oh
Roberts.
my God, is he going to run in it? This is really interesting.
In a 32.41, Matt Roberts in,
Oh my
Taylor
God.
Reid in second.
I hope he runs in it.
So at the moment, Matt Roberts is 17 seconds ahead of Taylor Reid, and right behind Taylor Reid is Liam Ward, and then Clayton Hutchins is tacked onto the back of that group. 13 seconds ahead of Kai Wild, a further second back to Dylan McCulloch. So at the moment,
If Taylor Reid runs in his wetsuit for 5 minutes, I'm going to barrack for a Kiwi.
Well,
That's it.
I think if he's
Just
made the
5
decision
minutes.
once, he's going to make the decision again, is he
Oh
not?
my God, this is
He
so much
must
fun.
have had zipper issues, a malfunction. I just can't imagine that would be
Well,
a conscious
it's one way
decision.
to lose a lot of weight very quickly.
And here's Matt Roberts absolutely flying.
His own personal sauna there for Taylor Reid. He hasn't got a lot of weight to lose.
Oh God, I hope the picture
Well,
doesn't drop out.
this could work quite well. If Kerry Morris has got that long course background, she'll be very happy to do an
Yeah.
individual time trial for her leg. So when they change over. So it's about a 20-second lead for Matt Roberts, heading out onto the 1.5k run.
The,
Very hard to make up 20 seconds over 1.5k. Unless, of course, you do it in a wetsuit.
yeah, well, I think that'll make it significantly harder.
Wetsuit running.
So we apologise for the quality of our pictures coming out of that camera on the moto. Not as sharp as we would like.
He's running the course well, point to point. Shortest course.
Yeah, he's running straight down the middle of the road now. And he's doing a lot of work now. He's changed coaches. He's with Warwick Dazil in Brisbane. So he's done a lot of work with his running form and running style.
Warwick likes the run drills, doesn't he?
He does.
I once did a session there with 2 hours of them.
That sounds horrible. Absolutely horrible. But Matt Roberts is at the front in Australia Team 1. He'll hand off to Kerry Morris with Ryan Fisher bringing it home in the Mixed Team Relay Oceania Championships. Roberts already with some good results. I was second in Rayong in the Asian Cup last month, or 2 months ago now, in January. And then second, obviously, yesterday, losing out to Taylor Reid by 3 seconds. But he is in control of this race as it stands, thanks to a very solid bike leg over 5.8 kilometres. And he's reaping the benefits here with a 17-second lead coming out of transition. It could be a little more than that. It's difficult to tell at this point. We'll know when they come back in again, obviously, and cross the timing, Matt. But yeah, he does look very comfortable in the run.
So it was very high arm carriage. Not sure whether he's been told to do that or not. Could be tightening up a little bit, but I mean 1.5k is going to hurt whatever you do.
So here's the turnaround.
So 750 metres in the can, 750 to go, and now he'll get a look at the lead that he's established.
Bit of a messy turn. He went in too tight. You still got to corner correctly when you run. A lot of coaches don't explain that because you can still lose your speed. Is that a wetsuit?
Chasing athletes, I think so. It's hard to see, but we'll see when he comes into to transition and collapses.
You can always rely on the Kiwis to provide entertainment.
Well, it's unique. That's what I can say. It's unique.
Yeah, at this style of racing, I'm sure it wasn't a decision to do that, but we've seen people, look at different things, velcroing their shoes onto their bikes. They don't have to put bike shoes on. I've seen someone put their running shoes inside their bike shoes.
Really?
Yeah, and then put their feet inside both so they could just pop it out at the end.
Yeah,
Anything for a couple of seconds as long as it works, but I don't know about wearing the wetsuit all the way around.
You have to think that Taylor's had a malfunction
Yes.
and the zip stuck.
Yes.
And obviously you can't gain any, no one can undo it for you, you can't have any outside assistance, so he's made the decision to stay in the race and race with his wetsuit.
So the conditions here, cooler for everyone else except for Taylor Reid. Enjoying a lovely breeze coming off the water here.
It's a good place to do it, Tassie.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to be like an Asian Cup race or...
Yeah, so not too far away from the changeover, they're probably about 400 metres away.
The pace very hot at the front, the field extremely spread out considering how this race has only been going for about 37 minutes at this point, maybe a little longer. But at the moment, coming in to transition, it is Matt Roberts who'll hand off to Kerry Morris, who, as Emma mentioned, came in 5th position yesterday.
Should be making her debut for Team Australia, for the Australian elite team, so that's a fantastic accolade for her. It's interesting how many athletes here are with and without wetsuits.
Yeah, so the girls are mixing it up again. Kerry's not wearing a wetsuit. Gone.
And off she goes, and a long wait now. And Kerry Morris into the water.
And
all by herself.
You'd think the Aussies would be pretty strong with the surf.
And here comes the chase group.
Oh, and there goes Taylor in his wetsuit.
So he did wear the wetsuit the whole way through.
It's impressive.
Well, go and hit the ice baths, Taylor Reid.
He will potentially go down in triathlon folklore.
Someone give that man some scissors. Cut it off.
Get the jaws of life for Taylor Reid. He's just had a very, very tough
I hope they
few minutes.
Interestingly though, if he had a malfunction, he didn't panic. He's kept his team right in the race.
Yeah.
So all credit to him.
Morris starting with a 17-7. Handed over from Liam Ward with Ainsley Thorpe. Australia team 3 New Zealand, team 1 New Zealand, and the US team, and then finally team 2 New Zealand. And there is Taylor Reid, who is just trying to get his body temperature below boiling point.
I think he'll probably need to grab him some ice. I reckon he's overheating there.
But honestly, what a courageous effort. Obviously, he's had a little bit of a malfunction there, but to win yesterday, back it up today, and do the whole thing in a wetsuit is quite the weekend out for the under-23 world champion.
He's kind of my favourite athlete right now.
Yeah, it'll wear off,
Yeah.
but right now,
Yeah.
he's at the top of the list for me as well. So congratulations to him.
They bred him tough in Gisborne, in Gizzy.
Gisborne. Wow. Tell you what, their program's very strong. They've been obviously peaked for the Oceanias, doing very well. We've got Hamish Carter here, their Olympic champion.
Yeah, no,
Now they're-
Hamish is now their performance director, and so they're in some pretty good hands there. So our lead swimmer is just heading to the far turnaround and heading back into shore.
The swim's broken up.
And yeah, to split up, there's some strong swimmers in there. But certainly Kerry Morris from Australia is leading at the moment for the Australian Team 1. And she's being hunted down by a pack of 4 or 5. Ainsley Thorpe will be right there, Deb Lynch from New Zealand, and also Mary Alex England from the USA.
Yeah, another one of those US collegiate athletes in the US team. Sophie Chase, Clayton Hutchins, Mary Alex England, and Walter Schaefer will bring them home. But yeah, Ainsley Thorpe definitely there. Kiri Aitken there as well. Kerry Morris, and we'll get the timing splits as they come out of the water. We are now into the second half of the mixed team relay Oceania Championships here from Devonport. Great conditions for this race.
So Craig, would you agree that the third leg or the second female are the females that can handle time trialling on their own, bridging gaps, running people down? They're sort of solid athletes.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is you're obviously going to have your best finisher you want to bring you home, your anchor leg if you like. So ideally your third female be a very strong cyclist, because they need to close gaps if necessary. If like this event now where there's gaps have opened, you really need to have that strong cycling pedigree to be able to close those gaps down.
Yeah, and also not panic.
So we're just looking at the course here and we think
So I think that is to the left of your screen is the Australian athlete, Kerry Morris, where someone's taking an inside line there on the right and will take the lead out of the water. But we'll get confirmation as they come into transition. A little runner comes through and wasn't able to catch up on that one. Athletes from behind, but Kerry Morris there is in second. She looks behind and she's been overtaken by Ainsley Thorpe.
Ainsley Thorpe.
Ainsley Thorpe in Team 1 New Zealand, coming off Taylor Reid and doing justice to his efforts in the wetsuit is Ainsley Thorpe, who's had a good swim.
So Ainsley Thorpe, so Australia number 1 and New Zealand number 1 duking it out. Then the USA in third, closely followed by the second New Zealand team.
So Kerry Morris is in now behind New Zealand. is in third with Mary Alex England. Then Romy Wollstonecraft, one of our upcoming under-23 athletes, off of Brandon Copeland's efforts. Deb Lynch, Millen Agnew, and a good effort there from Annabelle White.
I think it's interesting how much, so Kerry is normally a 70.3 athlete, and all the other athletes specialise in the shorter distance, the WTS events and then their juniors, and the key to that type of swimming is a fast that you've got to be fast over 300. Doesn't matter so much in the longer events because you've got so much time, as you said earlier, Will, to hate yourself.
Yeah.
Because you race for longer.
Why do you? Yourself at all? You just a low level hate yourself 24 hours a day.
I'm going to drop a name here. I used to say that Kathy Freeman used to only hate herself for 47 seconds, and she used to say to me, "You have to hate yourself for 2 hours." So the 2 off the front.
2 off the front, and
have we decided
it is Ainsley Thorpe, and I think
it's the other Kiwi girl.
I'm not sure what's happening to Kerry Morris then.
No, it is Kerry. She's not racing in a green and gold suit, so I'm not sure what's going on there. So she's just slipping her feet in.
Oh.
So, so Kerry Morris is right there.
So Team 1 Australia, Team 1 New Zealand.
So Kerry didn't have a wetsuit on, so she's made up a stack of time by not wearing a wetsuit.
And these 2 are away. So
the time she lost by going wide on the swim.
Yeah.
It all works out in the end.
I know.
So,
the chase pack's not in view, so this could well be setting up for an amazing finish.
Just a little match race between the top Aussie team and the top New Zealand team as our athletes still coming out of the water. Our sea leg second females. Some furious racing yesterday afternoon for the
certainly, it's Kerry. Certainly, confirmation is certainly Kerry Morris and Ainsley Thorpe, 1, 2, and then we're getting feedback that the USA are sitting in 3rd place. And
so Ryan Fisher and Hayden Wild. Ryan Fisher finishing 5th yesterday, had the fastest run leg of anyone out there. Wild
fresh leg
sets the standard in New Zealand mixed team relay and is completely fresh. After having arrived here from Singapore on Monday and did not race yesterday, but he did finish 5th in last year's edition of the Elite Men's Race. It could come down to those 2 at this point, but as we say, still plenty of racing to go.
Yes.
Still 4 legs of racing after this.
So you got Kerry Morris and Ainsley Thorpe leading, and then USA, Mary Alex England in 3rd, and then there's a chase group of 3 with Milan Agnew from Australia, Kiri Aiken from New Zealand, and Annabelle White from Australia in that next chase group.
Is this insider local knowledge?
Our spotters on the course, Emma.
We've had our CEO, Miles Stewart.
Yeah, the CEO of Triathlon Australia has been roped in to be our on-course spotter, so you've got to be a jack of all trades if you work for Triathlon Australia.
With the people.
Yeah, with the people to mix,
mix
with the people. We'll take a break right now as our 3rd leg athletes are out on the bike course. We'll pick it up, but at the moment it's Kerry Morris of Australia and Ainsley Thorpe of New Zealand head to head, and they'll head into the run in just a second.
Stars, snacks, and streaming on demand in every seat. Direct your way to LA with Virgin Australia.
So it is Team Australia and Team New Zealand, our top teams from both, the cream rising to the top in this one, and we'll hand off to Hayden Wild and Ryan Fisher respectively. Should be some excellent racing there at the back end, but Walter Schaefer as well, he's a bit of a wild card, has such a great run, Walter Schaefer, and one United States team, and they'll be very happy with the race they seem to have put together today.
Yeah, very happy. It's a young team as well. And for those that maybe just tuned in, we're up to the 3rd leg of the relay, the Oceania Championships. And we've got the females out in the 2nd lap of the bike.
Yeah, they're just coming up now to complete their turn for the 1st lap.
It's a 5.8k bike. which is a very odd distance. It's normally 4.
They'll fill that extra 1.8 Ks. I have no doubt about that as well. Just that extra 1,800 metres after yesterday's racing, but you can see big gaps there between our top 2 in Kerry Morris and Ainsley Thorpe, and the rest of the chasing pack behind, who are yet to come into shot.
That's a big gap. So that's very interesting.
There they are, just coming through going the other direction on that chicane. So that's probably 400 metres.
You'd have to say that
Might be more than that.
Barring mechanical problems. That's bit of a
just having a look at each other here. They're just trying to call each other through. It's not really a good idea riding side by side. So
You've just given. Have you ever heard of the commentator's curse? Emma
Yeah.
Carney's just gone on the commentator's curse here and said, barring an incident or mechanicals, they should be fine. And now I've just piled on as well. So let's hope that doesn't happen. Otherwise, there'll be conspiracy theories abounding.
Yeah.
But at the moment, Kerry Morris of Australia, who was strong, lost a bit of time in the swim, but didn't wear the wetsuit, so managed to make that time back up on Ainsley Thorpe, who had overtaken her on the last 200 metres of the swim.
It's kind of amazing that they can build up this much of a gap over, under 6K?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the question is is the chase pack willing to work together at all?
It's a relay, you go flat out.
You go flat out. I mean, so why have they suddenly turned a 5-second gap into a 500 metre gap?
Maybe.
it's interesting. We're getting some feedback from the course that's the chase group is now a pack of 5, so they've all come together.
Yep.
So that tends to slow things down a little bit.
Yeah.
So a little bit disjointed with the 2 up the front, motivated and working hard. It's just having a look at the results from yesterday. Well, interestingly, Ainsley Thorpe actually finished 3rd overall in the elite women with a pretty handy run time of 17:44 for the 5K, and Kerry Morris finished 5th overall with a run time of 18:11. So this is going to be really interesting run over 1,500 metres.
And we know how good Ryan Fisher and Hayden Wild are as well, and that chase group of 5 will have to work extremely hard if they're to be fighting for anything more than the bottom step of the podium here at the Oceania Championships. So 1 Australian team and 1 New Zealand team right in the mix. And how do you see this one playing out after that? I mean, is it a race in 2 at this point?
I think so. I'm going to call it. I think it's a race in 2, and I hate to say it, I think the Kiwis are very strong.
Yeah, hard to go past.
And we do have...
Are you still on Team New Zealand after what happened with Taylor Reid earlier on?
I kind of like that. Yeah.
Surely that's worn off by now.
We've got fresh legs, so I've lost a lot of respect at the end there.
Yeah, so Hayden's obviously been sick coming into race fresh. And look, in the grand scheme of things, it's really important, this race for New Zealand, because going on to the Tokyo Olympic Games, rankings determines whether you qualify for that event. Right now, New Zealand is sitting around 7th or 8th place, so they're right in that danger zone of not qualifying. So whatever points they gain here is really, really important as they
So the
accumulate points.
the top 7 nations are guaranteed entry. Is that
Top
right?
7
Into Tokyo.
My understanding, top 7 will be straight in,
Yep.
and that then qualifies 2 men, 2 women for the individual race as well.
Well, that's incredibly important then for New Zealand to take this one out and make sure they bump their rankings points as far up as they possibly can if they're on the bubble. And actually, we had Hayden Wild in the studio yesterday saying exactly that, how important this race is for them, and maybe that's why he decided to sit one out.
Maybe.
It may well be when we look back at this event and New Zealand qualify for the Tokyo Olympics in a relay, we look at Taylor Reid racing in his wetsuit, may have been all the difference.
I know. It's unbelievable.
I wonder if he's all right. We'll see where he gets caught fire or not. But hopefully he is all right, and as an athlete of his calibre, if anyone was going to be able to cope with spending 20 or so minutes out there in a wetsuit, it's going to be him.
Yes,
But there are our 2 lead athletes who have been stuck together during this entire bike ride, and it looks like they've been putting significant time into the chase group of 5. They'll come through the chicane for the last time, and then it's a few hundred metres and into transition to go out onto the run, 1.5 kilometres, and then we hand off to Ryan Fisher for Australia and Hayden Wild of New Zealand. And there is Morris and Thorpe.
Great job from Kerry Morris.
So it's a very close matched run.
This will be really interesting. Just needs to hang tough, measure the run, and just make sure that you can tag so that you're giving your teammate every opportunity to go for the win.
Yeah. So there's no option of dropping off. So you're going to definitely stick together, and it's a question of whether someone from the far turn is going to come home and try and have a bit of a break. I'd definitely be doing that one. But it depends on how your legs are, of course. So slightly faster is Kerry?
No, Ainsley had a slightly faster.
Okay.
Both of them were only separated by 33 seconds in the elite race yesterday. There's Millen Agnew, Mary Alex England, Kerry Atkin leading our group of 5, who are a good 30 odd seconds back. We'll get confirmation as the timing updates.
That's confusing on the back, England, USA.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm confused.
And Ainsley Thorpe has gone bang. She's away.
She is indeed. So Thorpe came out of transition with a 3-second gap. It's increased, and the pair of them have a 21 to 24 second inch, and then another 12 seconds back on Mary Alex England. So Deborah Lynch has had the transition of her life to push the gap out on Mary Alex England, Millen Agnew, Annabelle White, Kerry Atkin, and then a further 4 seconds back to Romy Wollstonecraft.
Ainsley Thorpe, she's running well. She looks like she does some track running. Have you got some background on her? She's nice and high, lifting her knees, fast leg turnover, and she's done that old trick, hit them hard on the way out and break them easily.
Yeah, look, she's moving well. She had the 3rd fastest run time yesterday, so was only really outsplit by Tamsa Moana-Veal and Joe Miller. In fact, if you remember, Ainsley Thorpe actually ran into 2nd place and was looking good to hold the silver, and Tams had managed to kick over the top of her in that last few hundred metres.
Which didn't look likely, only 500 metres out. So
Tamsin came out of nowhere yesterday.
she did. She was thereabouts. Looks like she'd put the cue in the rack.
But that's
there is Ainsley Thorpe. Only just out of the junior ranks, 2nd in the Junior Oceania Championships in Perth a couple of years ago. Has raced a number of World and European Cups in the last 2 years, and she's that's a, as you say, like a track running form,
nice
turnover.
And she'd get it around this turn, and she'll see she's got a break, and then she'll run like she stole something.
This is actually going to put Hayden into an interesting position, because he can't wait now. He's got to go. It doesn't have to be a tactical race for him. He's got to make Ryan Fisher try and catch him, and so this will be really interesting.
So the gap widening. It was 17 seconds midway through the bike. It went out to 24 seconds between these two, Ainsley Thorpe and Kerry Morris, and chasing pack, who is yet to round the turn there in the background. So
it's quite a good shot with the two girls running. You can see that Ainsley's spending less time on the ground, so obviously she's going to go faster, and that's what fast running is all about.
I think that's probably the difference you're seeing from someone coming from that more endurance racing background to someone that's got that speed content.
And Ainsley Thorpe halfway through the run, 750 metres gone. She turns for home, and behind her making the turn now, I imagine, is Kerry Morris. Athletes still coming through transition. But there is Thorpe. You can see the chasing pack still going down to make that turn at the back, and there, about 30 odd metres back, is Kerry Morris, leaving Ryan Fisher with some work to do to catch Hayden Wild to decide whether this Oceania Championships goes or stays here in Australia or crosses the ditch to New Zealand.
She's just got to dig really deep now over the last 500 metres. Just try and limit those seconds. Just try and give Ryan Fisher every opportunity to try and get in touch with Hayden Wild during the swim leg.
So Hayden Wild's swim is not renowned. He is, even over short distances like this, in Super League, etc., he can leak a few seconds on the swim. Ryan Fisher obviously coming back from 70.3 racing, and this is his first this weekend, his first ITU race, and then now he comes to mixed team. It's a bit of a a big transition back for him. He had some good results in 70.3, but he just said he was a bit bored with it out there. There's nothing boring about the next 20 minutes for him.
He's certainly a talented swimmer, and he had the fastest run split yesterday as well, so that'll be interesting to see at the back end of the race.
He was not entirely happy with a 5th place overall. Ryan Fisher finishing about 40 seconds back, or just under 40 seconds back on Taylor Reid yesterday from Matt Roberts, Trent Thorpe, Max Stapley. But then Hayden Wild has done nothing but get ready for this next 15 minutes for the last week. So,
well, Kerry's holding her well. There's not really much of a breakaway. It's just that initial leg speed off the bike, I think, that has built this lead up.
And very new for her too, to back up and race again, probably for the very first time.
Yeah, just gapped a little bit early on in that first 500 metres of this 1.5 kilometre run, but has held it since then. But through past the children's playground and through into our transitional spot will be our top Kiwi athlete, and there he is. Wild. He is wearing the wetsuit, and he is our first into the water. So our first male into the water.
Oh,
That's a shallow dive.
Yeah, I think he underestimated how shallow it was right there. But he's all right.
He's away.
He's still moving.
There is Ryan Fisher as well. So the gap not too big between them. They might well come together, depending on how good Fisher's swim can be.
Oh, he's just hunting.
Here at the Oceania Championships, if you're watching, do not flick it off right.
So we've got 2 out in front. Ryan Fisher is just starting to ease up onto
Hayden.
Now.
Hayden's going a bit wide.
So it was 10 seconds between Wild and Fisher. After a great third leg of this race by Annabelle White.
Yeah, that's an excellent leg from Annabelle White too, to put their team in. So Jack's only a young athlete as well, getting his opportunity to race in the elites today.
Yeah, another one who was back in the juniors in Oceania Champs in 2017, finished 12th overall. Of this Oceania Championship, so well done to that team. If my calculations are correct. And Sosinski only 3 seconds behind Luke Harvey and Declan Wilson. Harvey, Sosinski.
Yeah, certainly
4th through 7th.
With that group chasing behind, these two certainly can't afford to sit up and play cat and mouse. They've got to really go hard and maintain that gap for the run.
So Ryan Fisher, and on the right is Hayden Wild. So that 10-second gap that was worked so hard for.
Little wave building behind them, Will.
Yep.
See
if one of them can grab onto that. I don't think they will be able to.
Well, they milked it, but not quite.
But so in the pink cap is Hayden Wild. In the blue cap on the right is Ryan Fisher. And then there's a fair gap back
and another little
to Walter Schaefer, who I think is going to be caught by this group of chasers. Fisher and Wild on the left. So The two of them, nothing between them coming in. Team 1 Australia and Team 2 New Zealand have not been able to be split over the course of an hour's racing, and it comes down to these two. There is Wild at the front, Fisher right behind. Fisher, a more experienced athlete. He's got about 7 years, I think, on Hayden Wild, but he's also got a whole race in his legs from yesterday.
Yeah.
30 seconds back it was to Walter Schaefer, who's now been caught by this group of chasers, including Wilson, Harvey and Sasinski.
So do you say Wild has been sick?
He was concussed last Sunday in Singapore, copped a straight about 5 minutes after that, and then collapsed on the course. Was diagnosed with a concussion. Still got a black eye from that. Said he feels better. The day before yesterday was the first day he felt normal again. But here he is. And by virtue of a better transition, I think he's leading on the bike by a couple of seconds over Fisher. Is that right? It's hard to tell out there.
Certainly a very impressive transition.
As they come through the chicane.
Certainly Hayden, magnificent transition, very quick, very slick, and it's so critical at this style of racing.
And that's Super League.
Yeah, maybe that's it. I mean, both these athletes have raced Super League before, but Hayden Wild raced the entire last season, and Ryan hasn't raced since 2017. So just being sharp on those transitions, because last Sunday was a race featuring 8 transitions and 9 legs. So you've got to be dialed in on your transition.
I tell you what, Hayden's not hanging around. He put the nose down onto the wheel and he was going hard. Fish is certainly a very talented, strong rider as well. So those two they'll be here when those two are working together. Yeah,
Fisher has been racing in the Major League Series for the Gold Coast Triathlon. Them in supreme form in their respective forms of racing, as we can still look out there and see.
Getting some feedback. Declan Wilson was next out onto the from Australia, and Dan Hoy from New Zealand was in that group, and then was then just behind them.
Finishing third yesterday after leading out on the run. So quite the group there of.
So there's certainly a very riding group behind them, so they can't afford to back off at all. It's full gas.
No, I don't think that
I think
Hayden Wild knows any other way, does he?
I think he was going to go for it, no matter what. So 2 laps?
2 laps on the bike, and then 1.5 kilometres on the run, and your Oceania champions will be crowned. At the moment, it's a match race between Ryan Fisher and Hayden Wild. We're going to take a break and come back and pick them up on the bike.
Stars, snacks, and streaming on demand in every seat. Direct your way to LA with Virgin Australia.
So just over an hour gone in this Oceania Championships from Devonport, the 34th Devonport Triathlon, mixed team relay for the elites for the very first time, and what a race it is turning out to be. Team Australia number 1, anchored by Ryan Fisher. Team New Zealand number 1, anchored by Hayden Wild, and behind them a bit of an honour roll of athletes, including names like Dan Hoy, Trent Thorpe, Walter Schaefer, who represents our sole US team, is sitting in 4th position. Declan Wilson in 3rd position. He was first out of the water, but all of them have got a whole measure of work to do to get anywhere near our top 2, who are hammering out there on the bike course, and when we can pick up some live pictures from that, we will bring them to you. But are you sticking with your tip, Hayden Wild, fresh legs?
Yeah.
Yeah. You sound so sad. That was a really sad.
Yeah. It's New Zealand.
Huh? Yeah, true.
I'd love to see Australia win, because obviously being Australian, but I do think the New Zealand team is very strong, and it's, as Craig said, very important that they do well here to qualify for Olympics 2020. It's a championship. Everyone's getting points now from May of 2018.
Yeah, so they're about halfway through, so it's a 2-year process.
So
So
it's an Olympic qualification period, and this is part of it. So
Yeah, points
very
are all
race.
important. Not that Ryan Fisher is not hugely incentivised to take the win here as well, but there's plenty on the line for the Kiwi team, and you can see how much effort they're putting into it. And I think, is that them coming around for the first lap already done? They're on lap 2 now,
they are
back
rocking.
through the chicane.
Still together, so it's good.
Certainly 2 very talented cyclists that never die wondering on the bike course. So
Ooh, motorbikes are also on the road.
So we'll try and pick up our lead athletes as soon as we possibly can on the bike, as more of our athletes come into transition. And there is Hayden Wild, and he is all by himself. So he's gone off the front, and he is starting to lap athletes out there on the bike.
Do they have the lapping rule in relay?
well, normally yes.
Okay.
He's still out there.
But they made, because of the event today, they may have made the decision not to
Because there's
support
juniors
others.
and yeah. So we've got a lot of athletes out there that are so young, having their first taste of relay racing. And normally a lapped athlete would be out, but here they're going to stay in.
Well,
that's
Hayden Wild's going past people, making them look like they're standing still. That just shows you his quality. He raced New Zealand mixed team relay champs 2 weekends ago, and he was so fast in his leg of the race that they went back to check his GPS to make sure he hadn't cut any corners, because they didn't believe that he could have been that quick. And yet he obviously didn't do that, and it was legit, so he knows how to race this short racing. There's no question about that. He was standing 4th overall in Super League behind a trio, Johnny Brownlee, Vincent Lewis, and one other who escapes me, but when you look at the names like that, and Hayden Wild being the golfing experience that he has, Henry Schumann, of course. So he was sitting 4th, and if it hadn't been for that elbow to the face, he would have finished 4th overall. So it just shows you the quality of Hayden Wild and the future he has in this level of racing, and he's certainly showing it right now. And Ryan Fisher, who will look to qualify for Super League in Bali later on this month, is seeing right now the standard at which he has to maintain to make a splash in this kind of racing. We're going to take another break right now. We'll pick up Hayden Wild off the front of this one, who'll be hoping to run it home for Team New Zealand. Thank you to Normatec and to all of our sponsors who make this live stream possible. Here from Devonport Surf Club, we're really enjoying this weekend. We've had some fantastic racing at the moment. Hayden Wild of New Zealand is leading New Zealand Team 1 in a packed field of the mixed team relay. The first time we've had it in elite racing down here in Devonport, and we've got 28 teams out there at the moment. We've lost one team off the timing sheets, so 27 teams still in it. I'm not sure what's happened there. Maybe that commentator's curse that Emma Carney put on one of the teams there, saying there was going to be a mechanical, but we'll wait and see on that one. But at the moment, Hayden Wild leads from Ryan Fisher as they come through the second lap of the bike. As soon as we get live pictures, we'll bring them to you. We're not just, although it is in Craig's contract to make sure he gets a certain amount of face time each day, he's exceeded that already. So we will bring live pictures to you as soon as we can. But very impressive ride at the moment from Hayden Wild. And Ryan Fisher is a guy who's so accomplished. Rio 2016 Olympian, finishing in the top 25 there. But he's been made to look a little slow off the bike from Hayden Wild.
Yeah, look, it's very sensational ride. Like he's obviously come in with a bit of a cloud over his health. And look, we're not too far. This is right at the end of the bike.
Yeah,
and
that is Wild. So he came off. He had a 10-second lead going into the water. That was evaporated within 200 metres of the swim. He's not a renowned swimmer, Hayden Wild. But on the bike, he has returned that, and with interest as well. He's had a bit of trouble there with the bike. He's decided to pick it up. It's quite a long transition.
I'm liking the Kiwis tactics.
Well, they're really just doing whatever needs to be done at this point, aren't they? And
He's dropped shoes, hasn't he? Oh no.
No, shoes are on the bike, are they?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But you know what?
Maybe he's going to run in them.
He might run with the bike over his shoulder at this point.
And here comes Ryan Fisher, and
That's a huge gap.
It is a significant gap.
That is a big gap from Hayden Wild to Ryan Fisher, and I think that bike leg, and very likely we'll look back on this as the last few kilometres was the difference. And I don't know if he's going to be able to catch Hayden Wild from here. And he's seen what Hayden did, so he's coming around the corner with the bike on the shoulder, and Hayden Wild's going to come out of transition. And he's got a very, very quick run, and he's got fresh legs. And I'd say right now that New Zealand...
I don't like the... should he be crossing the line? That's... no. He should be staying on one half of the road. You can't... It's an out and back course. So that could be a bit of a problem.
Crossing the centre line.
Crossing the
It'll be
centre
interesting
line
to see what
yes.
instructions they got from the technical officials on that. But certainly coming into an event like this, Will, with fresh legs, you can see the significance of that. Hayden mentioned yesterday to us that the relay was really important to them, and so he did hang around to be that anchor man for today, and obviously that's paid off by not racing yesterday and coming in fresh.
And I think the other interesting thing, I mean, Australia 1 team, the last two athletes, Kerry Morris and Ryan Fisher, are 70.3 athletes. And, while we're trying to work out and have different variations of our number 1 team and working with the athletes that are here, I don't think 70.3 athletes can do a really fast world-class relay leg. It's way too short.
And that's certainly a significant gap back to Ryan Fisher, who's just appearing in the view at the back there. So
I think you were right. I think New Zealand's got it in the bag, and we'll look back at potentially this, as you say, as we get to Tokyo 2020, if they just sneak in New Zealand and Taylor Reid's wetsuit
he needs
run and then Hayden Wild's bike leg got them over the line here in Devonport.
Well, there could be a penalty for crossing that centre line, so he might get within the finish line and have a 15-second penalty or 10-second penalty. So, Ryan needs to run hard.
Keep pushing on. So we're getting...
Ryan will, he's experienced enough to give his all no matter what position he's in, even if he's all by himself.
So just behind those two, we've had Declan Wilson's off the bike, followed closely by Dan Hoy from New Zealand, and also Walter Schaefer from the USA, and Luke Harvey from Australia in that chase group, and then not far behind them, young Jack Sosinski.
Okay, so 2 Australian teams, 2 New Zealand teams, and the sole American team in the top 5 as it stands at the moment. But at the front, and there is the turnaround, I think, just there at the bottom of your screen, is the halfway point of the run, and Hayden Wild, barring any incident, I mean, what's the likelihood that he gets picked up for that one, do you think, for crossing the centre line?
I think very likely. Did it right down in front of his
It's quite a long,
yeah. And, it's an out and back course, and you can't really cross over the centre line. And
there is Ryan Fisher making the turnaround in the far background of your shot.
Yeah, sensational race, Hayden Wild. Super impressive on that bike.
If he gets a 15-second penalty, that will be very interesting.
I know, yes. Remember that happened in the WTS in Abu Dhabi in the women's last year? The 3rd place?
What did it?
Yeah.
That was a great race.
Interesting whether they've picked that up. But
so you've got to know your rules. You've got to be at briefings now, and you've got to make sure that you know the course, know what you can and can't do. Because little things like that, you're racing. Like I've sent races the wrong way because someone didn't put bunting up on a corner. So I don't try and work out what I'm doing. I just run flat out, and if it's not marked, I'll just keep running. So
just like Forrest Gump style, just keep running across Australia.
I've done it twice, so yes.
Hayden Wild in absolute control of this race, barring a penalty which he may or may not be handed down for crossing the centre line.
He doesn't even look like he's running that fast.
No, he is absolutely in cruise mode, and that's okay. He's done his work, set the race up on the bike, and he can afford to enjoy this win.
Ryan Fisher of Team Australia #1 in the background, and then behind him another big gap back to athletes like Declan Wilson and Dan Hoy.
So he needs to run in now and have no eye contact with any officials.
Just keep going. Just keep going. Just like in any job, if you keep your head down and look busy, no one will bother you. So that's what he's doing as he comes into the finishing chute. He hasn't been pulled up for anything.
No, he's fine.
He's looked behind him, he sees no one else, and Hayden Wild. Great pictures as we send the motorbike down the finishing chute as well. He will finish, and deli cars in the road as well. But that's okay, it doesn't matter. And Hayden Wild will be embraced by his team, and they know how much this means to them. Ainsley Thorpe did incredibly well. Taylor Reid ran in a wetsuit if you're just joining us,
And he's got it off.
and he's taken it off somehow, maybe with the jaws of life, and Hayden Wild brings it home, has a chat with the officials. Congratulations to team number 1, New Zealand, who waste no time in grabbing a photo, and fair enough too. So well done to Nicole van der Kay, who started us off, Taylor Reid, who looks like he's lost some weight there, Ainsley Thorpe, and Hayden Wild brings it home, and he doesn't even look puffed really, does he?
We need the camera
No,
to
he
turn around.
cruised, absolutely cruised.
So behind him, Ryan Fisher, we're hoping we're going to see him come across the line in just a second.
Dilly's back in
Perhaps
the shot.
not. There's Declan Wilson. So Ryan Fisher will have crossed in second position. And Declan Wilson comes across the line in third ahead
Of Dan Hoy.
of
it
Dan
looks like.
Hoy there in the background. So well done to Declan Wilson. They take the third step of the podium. In fourth is Dan Hoy.
That's good. It's a nice balanced podium.
Yeah, so New Zealand 1, Australia 2, Australia 3 on that podium. So
And there is your winning team. Van der Kay on the left, Reid, Thorpe and Wild. They know, you could see how much it meant to them to take this win here and become Oceania champions.
And I think given the weekend,
There's Walter Schaefer in the background.
the New Zealanders were favourites before this started. I mean, they've had a strong weekend. They've had a lot of first places here, so it was a good, strong showing. And I just love the fact that Taylor Reid biked and ran in his wetsuit, whole triathlon. That's excellent.
Have you ever seen that before?
Never.
It's
Never.
the first time for everything. Doesn't matter how
I'm
many
going
years
to
you
go
spend
and
in the
personally
sport.
congratulate him.
not the run leg, certainly not the run
No.
leg. I have seen it on a bike before, but
And then
not
taking
the
it
run.
off after the bike.
Yeah, but not the
collapsed.
run.
Or just not made it.
Removed in the ambulance.
Well,
I think-
lucky it was a mixed team relay and not a whole triathlon.
I think the exciting thing for New Zealand today was not just the relay this afternoon, but you know they cleaned up in the Oceania Junior Championships, both the men and the women, and so great signs for them moving forward.
And a great weekend of racing overall as well. We started yesterday morning, seems like such a long time ago, with the youth racing. We had junior racing as well. 2 great elite races, some huge para-triathlon World Cup events there as well, and to finish with a mixed team relay, which was decided in the last leg, and that wraps up what's been a fantastic weekend here in Devonport.
Yeah, it's been great, and the weather's been fantastic down here. Been quite warm. I think the athletes were quite happy to have a little bit of cloud cover this morning because it was very hot yesterday.
You can tell he's a Tasmanian when he just goes on and on about the fact that the weather here is not terrible, like every 15 minutes. Just mentioned that it's really warm here and it's a great holiday destination.
It is very nice coming back to Devonport. We used to race back in the day and had some great races in Devonport, had some shockers. I've ended up in Devonport Hospital as well. Not
Is
to
that
have
right?
a wetsuit cut off. Yeah. So it's 35 years.
35 years, yeah.
Yeah,
1985 was the first
It's
Devonport
one of
triathlon.
those historical Australian locations to race triathlon. You've got the Noosa Tri, you've got Devonport Tri, you've got Nepean Tri, you know, those long-standing races. And, you know, the weather may not be great down in Tassie in the winter, but I've never raced down here in the triathlon in bad weather. So
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
All right,
And I'm
a
not from
confirmation.
Tassie.
Confirmation of our winners: Nicole van der Kay, Taylor Reid, Ainsley Thorpe. Forgive me while I read this off the screen. And Hayden Wild in a 1:17.48, 1:18.11. So the gap significant there at the end from Tamsin Moanaville, Matt Roberts, Kerry Morris, and Ryan Fisher, and then a further 44 seconds back to Team 2 Australia: Kira Hedgeland, Brandon Copeland, Romy Wollstonecraft, and Declan Wilson, who finished 5 seconds ahead of Team New Zealand number 3, Sophie Corbridge, Liam Ward, Kerry Atkin and Dan Hoy. And to round out our top 5, Zoe Lee, Kai Wild, Milan Agnew and Luke Harvey ahead of the sole United States team in 6th. So congratulations to all our top 5 or 6 place getters and to everyone who took part in this one. We hope you've enjoyed the call. We've certainly enjoyed bringing it to you. Craig Redmond, thank you for your company across the course of the weekend.
Thanks, Will.
Thanks for making me look good by comparison. I very much enjoyed it. And Emma Carney, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, it's been emotional. We've enjoyed bringing it to you. The 35th Devonport Triathlon. No, it's stressful. It's been fantastic. We've really enjoyed the efforts of all our athletes across the course of the weekend. We hope you've enjoyed our live stream, and thank you to Joey and Lisa Pringle and the rest of our team and our spotter out on the course CEO, Miles Stewart, as well.
Couldn't have done it without Miles.
Couldn't have done it without Miles. We'll be back again very soon. Make sure you check all of Triathlon Australia's accounts to see when we can next bring you some fantastic live streaming.
I'll be in Abu Dhabi next week.
You'll be there.
WTS, yep.
Okay, well thanks for letting us know your plans. We're not doing a live stream from there, but
Well, I am.
okay, well not with us.
Okay.
We look forward to watching
Unless you've got spare space on the plane. Should be up the front of the plane though. That wraps us up for now. We hope you've enjoyed it. We've enjoyed bringing it to you, all the details and all the results, of course, on the Triathlon Australia website and on all the social media channels. But it's bye for now.